Who says you can't? You do. Part 2. What you believe, you create. Regardless of what events take place, it is always our choice what meaning we give to them. The current beliefs we choose to live by create or contribute to all of the experiences we have. Regardless of what area of life it is, they can be the basis for change or the reason we seem motionless. What exactly are beliefs? Usually they are nothing more than opinions that have been fed to us by other people, a chosen perception built from experience, and thoughts that have been repeated to you or that you have repeated to yourself. We hear things on the radio, see them on TV, and learn through friends and family. Do we ever sit back and think about the source from which information stems? Most things are just one individual's opinion, and we know there are a lot of those flying around. It's crucial that we probe our beliefs to get to the truth. There are two kinds of critics. One is a coward who gains his glory by attacking things he never had the courage to do. The other is courageous enough to tell you that cowards never make it. Learn to utilize both of them. How often do we let our limiting beliefs prevent us from taking action in our life? Funnily enough, we even let other people's limiting beliefs hold us back. We associate feelings of pleasure or pain with every belief we have, and that's what ultimately shapes our destiny. The actions we take toward life every day are also the result of our beliefs. We have found out that a belief is nothing more than an idea or chosen perception that is repeated. We create a specific idea of what we think an experience means. For example, we might create a belief that we are unlovable in the aftermath of a breakup. We then mentally, verbally, and physically act accordingly. We stick to one perception and repeat it many times until we build our own beliefs around it. Our vocabulary and body language even align with the belief systems we have built. Imagine someone in a relationship in which their partner habitually disrespects them. While telling others about the situation, they use negative language, frown, and shake their head in disgust. By now, it has tainted their trust in relationships altogether. The next time they see a happy couple smooching in the park, they follow exactly the same pattern. Realistically, it's just a loving couple, but to this person it represents heartache. Maybe you have heard that we cannot deliberately or consciously build beliefs. That is a lie. I know there have been things in your life that you once thought you couldn't do. Once you shifted all your focus and resources to doing it, you discovered you were more than capable. You may not have believed you could run that distance, leave that person, build a relationship, make that much money, get past that fear, or break that habit. Eventually, you built up enough emotional momentum to enforce a whole set of new beliefs. When you made yourself believe that you could, you did it with conviction. All the beliefs that are currently shaping your life have been built by you. That means you have the power to create and build new beliefs that will change your life forever. The mysterious thing is that it actually doesn't take long at all. In order to speed up the process, you must become forceful and intense with your new beliefs. For example, when you say, "I can't do that," or "that's impossible," you must immediately command a physical and verbal alternative. Build up your state of mind and demand with all your power that you take control. Go through your day repeating, "I can do it. I can do it. I can do it," and "nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible." I would repeat the new things I wanted to believe with so much emotional power that I gave my old self no real choice but to surrender. The more you repeat it, the more you believe it. It is very important to understand that we create whatever we want to believe. It is also essential that we align our mental, verbal, and physical actions to build a new belief. The strongest way to build these beliefs is to acknowledge what you're doing when you're doing it. If it is patience you are demonstrating when waiting in traffic, don't just sit there and take it for granted. Acknowledge that you are being patient right now and be proud of it. This goes for every area of our life and is an extremely strong tool in determining who we are becoming. Reinforcement is the #1 key to building and strengthening beliefs. All successful people know that beliefs are the foreground of creating anything in their life. Answer the following question and come up with as many empowering beliefs as you can think of. What would I have to believe in order to get what I want? Example: I want to be healthy and fit. New belief: I would have to believe that I will never get what I want in life unless I commit to living a healthy lifestyle. I would have to believe that I would never get that person I dream of. I would have to believe that my health is the most important thing in my life. Without respecting my body, I will never respect my life. Be creative. as you are the one who picks your beliefs. These beliefs are writing your experience. Once you write down all the beliefs that you desire, use reinforcement as much as you can. Repeat them throughout your day and in the face of experience. Overpower your old, limiting beliefs, and you will see that after a while they will diminish and the new ones will get stronger. What you think, you believe. What you believe, you create. We must also build what I call an ABS, absolute belief system, in order to succeed at a level that most of the world would deem unrealistic. Is there anything in the world that man has created that someone else wouldn't have called unrealistic before its existence? If you take a good look around, you will notice that most people would have perceived every creation to be impossible before it was created. Who would have ever thought that we would be able to talk to someone halfway across the world with a gadget the size of our hand? Self-taught engineer Dr. Percy Spencer invented the microwave, and you can just imagine trying to tell people 300 years ago that we were going to cook food with no fire. We have flown to the moon and back, can see other people who are thousands of miles away as if they are right in front of us, and can check local movie times through wireless internet. I was already amazed with wired internet, and then they had to go and bamboozle me and make it wireless. Take a look at anything around you right now, and you will see that it had to have started as a mental picture in someone's mind. Do you realize how fascinating, amazing, and mysterious it is to see something in your mind, then create it to be right in front of you? How is this possible? A simple explanation would be that it began as a vision followed by a belief system around it. Those beliefs resulted in the vision becoming a reality in the mind, which then caused it to come into existence through appropriate action. Trying to ultimately explain this phenomenon is impossible. It is one of the mysteries of life. And just because we don't fully understand it, it doesn't mean that it's not our gift to put it into practice every day. Here is a strategy and simple experiment that might help you out. 1. Concept. Close your eyes and visualize holding a piece of paper in front of your face with your name written on it. Do this for 10 seconds. See the letters and feel the paper, but only in your mind. This is only a mental vision, so make sure you do nothing physically. 2. Action. Did you see that paper with your name on it? Now, get out a piece of paper and a pen and physically write your name on it. 3. Creation. Hold it in front of your face. It's real. Touch it. Do you now see that you actually just created that? Where was it before you were able to touch it? It was just a figment of your imagination, right? You just brought something that was only in your mind into reality. You saw the future, took action, and created it. For a moment, comprehend the magnitude this capability can have on your life. I want you to think back to a time when you have really felt something, visualized over it, and it has come about. It may have been a new car, an outfit, or a holiday. Practice this strategy with anything that you want, and you will realize that you have been creating your whole life. People ask me, how do I create things in my life like others? I explain that they have always been doing it. The difference is that they are not aware of what they are creating. If you want to create something large, you might have to take more action. Everything comes with its challenges, but if you are committed to making your vision real, you will find a way through or around the obstacles. This world is a place of endless possibilities, and it's not until you acknowledge that you have always had the power to create that you finally realize anything is possible when you believe it is. You can actually create anything you desire. The only one stopping you is you. If you think of something, see the end result, and believe it will work, then it can. Most of the time people will talk themselves out of it or convince themselves why it won't work. This is usually due to other people's opinions or letting the idea slip away before it can be reinforced. Successful people talk themselves into it and give many reasons why it will work. They focus on how they can do it and repeat it many times with so much conviction that it becomes a belief that consumes their life. They don't rely on others to build their belief. They know that when they believe it enough, others will follow. Even when we buy a car, it's highly recommended that it be equipped with anti-lock brakes. Having an anti-lock braking system, ABS, in a car prevents the wheels from locking up or ceasing to rotate while braking. It also allows you to steer the car in the direction that you want in an emergency braking situation. When we have an ABS, absolute belief system, in life, we don't just sit there and wonder all day. We get those wheels rotating and acting. We view everything as a realistic possibility, and that's what causes us to steer our life in the direction we want. But there are particular beliefs that prevent us from creating such a system. Why is it that sometimes we know exactly what we want, have a plan, but for some reason don't take the appropriate action? I couldn't count how many times I have heard someone say, "I just don't know what's holding me back." It seems that when we think of an empowering direction or something that will satisfy our wants, we automatically shift our focus to what we must sacrifice to get it. Rarely do we remain focused on what we are actually gaining. Hence, many fall back into the trap of procrastination. When in pursuit of what you want, if you think of sacrifice, it makes it a lot harder to focus on the journey ahead. When you think of the sacrifices, everything seems too hard. Do yourself a favor. Focus on what you are gaining. This topic also asks the question, are we really losing when in pursuit of what we want? If you remain focused on the benefits, it becomes apparent that you actually sacrifice nothing. But on so many occasions, we neglect this aspect of success and will submit to the weaker approach. We do this because it seems easier at the time to do what we have always done. We all know that produces the same results. Is it really easier to let 10 years pass and realize you haven't achieved what you wanted? Now is a better time than ever. So let's go through some common conflicting beliefs. I want a partner, but if I get one, I will lose my freedom. I want to be successful, but I still want to sleep until 1 p.m. and drag through my day. I want to get fit, but that equals pain. I want to follow my passion, but if I charge people for it, they may think I am all about the money. I want to do what I love, but if I do, my parents will think I'm worthless. If I become wealthy, the people around me will feel worthless and not trust me. I want to sell my services, but I don't want to give off the impression that I am just doing it for the money. I want to be healthy, but I want to continue to eat junk food on a regular basis. I want to make massive changes in my life, but I want my friends to still like me. I want to make a lot of money, but if I do, it may mean I am not spiritual or religious anymore. I want to be healthy, but I still want to smoke and paralyze myself with alcohol. I want to own my own business, but I don't want to be embarrassed if it doesn't do well. I want to stop smoking, but I want to release stress. These are a few common conflicts I have come across in my time. It's like one thing is pulling us one way, while something else is tugging on the other side. With all this confusion, how can we ever get what we want? Here is an extremely effective strategy when you find yourself in one of these situations. 1. Identify. First, you must discover and get to the bottom of the conflict. Have a clear indication of what you want and be aware of what other beliefs are stopping you. An example would be the list we just went through. 2. Question. Next, you need to question what you have identified. Which one is more important to you? Which one is going to have more meaning in your life? Which one can enhance the quality of your life? Which one helps you create more energy and take action toward the bigger picture? What is going to help you grow and progress in life? Which out of the two do you value more? Will you ever ultimately be happy if you don't choose the fulfilling option? Which one can add more value to your life? How will your life look in the future if you do not face your fear? How will this decision ultimately make you feel about yourself once it's made? Could choosing the disempowering option affect future decisions you have to make? Think of more questions. 3. Align. From the questions, give enough great answers for the belief that is obviously going to fulfill you. Align yourself with these beliefs and reinforce them. Once you align yourself with the empowering beliefs associated with your real wants, you will hit your target. There is nothing pulling you on the other side anymore because you have overpowered it with enough emotion. Seeing that we just covered how beliefs influence every area of our life, it is important to look at the scientific evidence behind these methods. Without enjoying the process, there is no success in what you do. Neuroplasticity. Rewiring your brain. As you continue on your journey, you will soon be amazed to see that you are attracting things that help make sense of the great changes you are making. I told people about the changes I had been through and helped them with theirs. I would tell them that it was as if I was able to rewire my mind. For centuries, the human brain has been thought of as incapable of fundamental change. People suffering from neurological defects, brain damage, or strokes were usually written off as hopeless cases. Recent and continuing research into the human brain is radically changing how we look at the potential for neurological recovery. The human brain, as we are quickly learning, has a remarkable ability to change and heal itself. In fact, even to rewire itself. This has caused the old dogma to be thrown out. In other words, you are physically changing your brain with every thought you have. Neuroscience experiment, connection between mind and body. The power of the mind is everything, and any successful person will tell you that. Everything you ever do or create is a result of your thoughts. If you are someone who doesn't believe that mind and body are one, you have obviously never had a sexual fantasy before. Further to that, you must have never felt a churning in your stomach when worried about something, never jolted when confronted with a fear, or experienced that overwhelming feeling in your chest when you see the person that you love. Our amazing brain. The brain does not know the difference between what it sees in its environment and what it remembers, because the same specific neural nets are firing. The brain is made up of tiny nerve cells called neurons. These neurons have tiny branches that reach out and connect to other neurons to form a neural net. Each place where they connect is integrated into a thought or a memory. Now, the brain builds up all its concepts by the law of associative memory. For example, ideas, thoughts, and feelings are all constructed then interconnected in this neural net, and all have a possible relationship with one another. The concept and the feeling of love, for instance, is stored in the vast neural net, but we build the concept of love from many other different ideas. For some people, love is connected to disappointment. When they think about love, they experience the memory of pain, sorrow, anger, and even rage. Rage may be linked to hurt, which may be linked to a specific person, which then is connected back to love. Who is in the driver's seat when we control our emotions or response to emotion? We know physiologically the nerve cells that fire together, wire together. If you practice something over and over, those nerve cells have a long-term relationship. If you get angry on a daily basis, frustrated on a daily basis, if you suffer and give reason for the victimization in your life, you're rewiring and reintegrating that neural net on a daily basis. That net then has a long-term relationship, called an identity, with all those other nerve cells. We also know that when nerve cells don't fire together, they no longer wire together. They lose their long-term relationship because every time we interrupt the thought process that produces a chemical response, those nerve cells that are connected to each other start breaking their long-term relationship. When we start interrupting and observing, not by stimulus and response to the automatic reaction, but by observing the effects it takes, then we are no longer the emotional person who is responding to an environment on automatic. A life of reaction is a life of slavery, intellectually and spiritually. One must fight for a life of action, not reaction. Every day, we are making neural nets stronger if we consistently repeat thoughts. Just think of it as someone tying a piece of rope together in your mind. When you repeat a thought, a word, or a physical action, another piece of rope, neuron, is attached, only to make the net larger and have more of an effect in your life. The beliefs we have about the outside world, success, relationships, our finances, and so on, appear the way we create them to be. So how about if we broke the pattern and replaced it with an empowering alternative? If we fed those positive thoughts, which become beliefs, which turn into emotion, which then cause us to act, would they force us to make different decisions that ultimately shape our life? Of course they would, and that's exactly what we are going to do. Don't think that the tasks we are going to complete are just wishful thinking. They are creating new neural nets, NNN. So limiting beliefs are diminished and your true power is finally realized. Breaking old habits. Throughout your life, you have applied the notions of pleasure and pain to every decision you have made. The experiences of pleasure and pain are fundamental to humans. They are the basis of change or, on the other hand, the reason we continue to have the same experiences. Our perceptions and our belief system control what we associate pleasure and pain with. We make drastic decisions that change our life forever as a result of massive shifts of emotion. Just think back to life-changing decisions you have made that altered the direction you were going. Were they the result of an emotional explosion? It's similar to shaking a can of soda and then opening it. The pressure causes it to explode and forces the liquid in a completely different direction. You have always created that pressure within yourself, and who's to say you can't build it again with things you deliberately want to change? The truth is, you can. Sometimes you just need a good shake. We can adapt pleasure or pain to anything we desire. It all depends on how we choose to look at it. People habitually do the same thing over and over again until they have created a neural net that is similar in strength to a post stuck firmly in the ground. In order to make immediate change in your life, regardless of whether it's a habit, fear, phobia, or your perception, you must look at the effect it's having on your life and the associations of pleasure and pain you have adapted. The following steps can be taken to break down and interrupt anything you consider a habit. For example, looking down when people talk to you, smoking cigarettes, overeating, or thinking negatively about a particular person. I use this to break habits such as smoking, not believing in myself, and, most important, my drug abuse. It got me through fears that I had and other habits that were restricting me. 1. Know what you want, for example. If what you want is to quit smoking cigarettes, you might say, to be healthy and fit, to be able to play at the park with my children or grandchildren one day, to discover my power, to know that I can achieve, to attend my child's wedding, to be really successful, to take control over my life. After you have written down what you ultimately want, you must pick something that is going to take the place of the old habit immediately. What do I want to do instead of smoking? What do I want to do instead of overeating? What do I want to do instead of stressing? Whatever your habit is, make sure you choose one alternative to put in its place. Instead of smoking, I want to eat more greens. 2. Know what's stopping you. You have probably been making the mistake of normalizing the situation. Normalize. You say, I have a bad relationship, as if you have nothing to do with creating the relationship. That is detachment, so you may feel better in the short term. It is like you are separate from your experience and have no control over it. If the relationship is bad, it is out of my control and outside of my responsibility. Instead, you must denormalize. I am relating poorly. Take ownership. If it's something that I'm doing, I can do it differently. For the smoking example, the answer to know what's stopping you would be my choice to kill myself by smoking cigarettes rather than just cigarettes. We must take ownership so that we are able to make lasting change. If I told you to sit there and hear that voice saying, you need a cigarette right now, to really feel the sensation of picking it up and inhaling a puff, you would desire a cigarette. But the cigarette is nowhere in sight. So was it your mind that gave you the feeling, or the cigarette itself? It could not have been the physical cigarette. It's how you think about the cigarette that gives you the sensation, not the cigarette itself. Someone else might see the same cigarette and want to vomit because they think differently about it, right? This applies to anything. All sensations and desires emerge from the mind. Once you take responsibility and acknowledge that it's actually all in your mind, you can make lasting change. It would be the same if I told you to close your eyes and imagine something really hurtful that someone has said to you in the past. Take some time now and think hard about it. How did you feel in that moment? Did the same emotions of frustration, sadness, or anger churn within you? That person isn't actually here saying it to you, are they? But you experience the same feelings through the vast neural net you have created in your brain. This is due to your thoughts. This realization allows you to acknowledge that you have options rather than thinking you are stuck to one. Our thoughts are our choice. Tapping into your mind. Once you are aware of what you want and what's stopping you, then it's time for a small but powerful task. Nothing is going to change unless you tap into your subconscious mind. A great way of doing this is to start building your new neural net by rehearsing the reaction that you really want when faced with an old habit. Constant repetition is what makes something a habit, so we should start breaking it right now. Close your eyes and envision the reaction you want as realistically as you possibly can when you are about to fall into an old habit. Feel the emotions of being faced with the old habit and create a perfect scenario of breaking it immediately with the new habit. This will bring forth new powerful emotions. Going back to the smoking example, you would visualize wanting a cigarette and then saying, no. You would imagine exactly how you would feel by doing that and make it as real in your mind as you possibly can. Would you feel proud, strong, or in control? What would your facial reaction be? Would you be smiling after you have said no? Do this around 25 times, which only takes around 5 to 10 minutes. This is a great start because it allows you to see and create the new option that is just as real as your previous automated response of giving in. In order to reach any desired level in our life, we must mimic how we would act if we were already there. If you want to be mentally strong, you must practice being mentally strong. 3. Standard association. What do you stand for? What do you teach others? What do you pride yourself on? As you have probably already noticed throughout the book, I'm extremely big on being truthful to yourself and enforcing it any way you can. We all have certain standards and values that we attempt to live by on a daily basis. We so often contradict our core beliefs due to the habits that we have put in place. Every time we do it, we seem to get weaker because we break down our emotional state. The cause of this is sometimes only that we avoid reasoning with ourselves. We will refuse to look at the truth because it seems too painful to bear. Facing those core values and standards is our ticket to an empowering life. This is the initial step in getting leverage. Go back to your wants list and analyze it properly. It seems that the reason you wrote down all those wonderful things is they reflect who you really are as a person, rather than what you have conditioned yourself to be. Questioning is the greatest tool one can use to shift a certain mindset and begin breaking an old pattern immediately. If you have written down on your wants list that you would like to walk your daughter down the aisle on her wedding day, but you find more pleasure in smoking, then you need to reevaluate your standards. The reason you mention that on your wants list is because you love her, right? But when you really love someone, are you selfish in the process? Are you demonstrating your love for her? Or are you in fact stating the complete opposite with your daily decisions? If you really loved her, then you wouldn't do what you are doing. If you have written down that you want to be healthy and fit, that is because you ultimately see that you have respect for yourself. If you didn't, you wouldn't have even picked up this book. Does someone who respects themselves and preaches to their loved ones to do the same disrespect their life by overeating? You get my drift. These are questions that we must enforce to begin the leverage process. Questioning your core beliefs and weighing what you want from your life against the current decisions you are making creates a massive shift of emotion. If you think your standards are currently low in your life, raise the bar. Only by raising our standards can we ever find the power to reach new peaks. 4. Break the pattern. Turn up the heat, then cool down. How is this habit affecting me mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and financially? This is the task where you are required to get massive leverage over yourself. Do you know the phrase, if you can't handle the heat, get out of the kitchen? We are now going into the kitchen. When you were a child and touched something that was extremely hot for the first time, it created a pain so strong that you knew you never wanted to touch it again. We need to hit the maximum pain threshold now. This step requires you to get into a really deep thought process and ask yourself probing questions. Basically, we are going to apply extreme emotional pain to not stopping your habit, phobia, or fear. For a brief moment, I want you to imagine the feeling you get when you see an electric appliance next to water. How have you conditioned yourself to react? In order to break the current habit, you need to condition a similar response. Go back to all those things you want out of life and think of never getting them. Referring back to the smoking example, this is how it would go. You would envision walking around with a tube stuck down your throat. You would imagine being terminally ill when your children are still young or when grandchildren are born. You would feel the extreme pain and torment you would put your family through. You would imagine inhaling a cigarette, follow the smoke into your body, and watch it physically destroy your insides. Close your eyes and make it so real that it makes you nearly physically sick. It might even do just that and put a disgusted look on your face. I'm sure you have heard the voice of someone who has had throat cancer and sounds like a robot. In your mind, you would imagine saying, I am choosing to destroy my life as well as the people I love the most, in that sick robotic voice. Feel the emotional and physical pain you would endure, and then transmute that inner energy into good aggression. This exercise is all about emotion, so really feel and get a great mental image of exactly what it is that you are giving up in your life and what effect it has already had. It's important to really focus on the fact that you are choosing to give all those things up. This requires that you close your eyes and visualize. Maximize leverage. Humans will always move towards something that we believe is far more pleasurable than the painful option. As long as we think the old habit has more pleasure, we will continue to choose it. If you want to break the pattern, you may have to attach something that causes extreme emotional pain every time you repeat the old habit. This will ensure you condition the new habit without so much resistance. Now, once you have hit that absolute pain threshold where you think you're going to get out of the chair and scream, reverse it. Begin to think of the pleasure if you stopped it now. The joy on your family's faces, the feeling of achievement you would attain, the strength you would display. Imagine playing with your children at the park or feeling healthy and fit. Really absorb yourself in that pleasure of being free from that choice of mental state. Creating a completely random scenario in your mind that seems ridiculously stupid is also effective in the face of habits, phobias, fears, or a situation that reminds you of pain. In order for this to be successful, you must look at the scenario as if you were watching it from an outside perspective, almost like sitting at a comedy show. When you feel the sensation or begin to think of the habit, reverse the whole scenario in your mind. Have the mental image play backward, and then add some circus music to it. Replay it over and over again, and add whatever ridiculous things you want to it. This is similar to smashing a plate on the ground. Even if you try to fix it, there will still be cracks that ensure the plate is never the same. That's what we want to do with those patterns in your mind. Smash them. For example, if you are scared of flying in an airplane, you would use this technique to change your state immediately. You will notice that fear disappears very quickly and may even turn into laughter. This practice is very powerful and is used by professionals around the world. If you face it, you can break it. If you run, you're done. 5. Build on the NNN. We live in accordance with stimulus and response. A stimulus is something that stimulates our senses. For the example of smoking, the stimulus would be the mere thought of a cigarette, seeing one, speaking about it, or smelling it. The automated response would be to associate pleasure with it and go get one. A response is how we react to a stimulus. We must break the pattern immediately in the face of the stimulus, which will reinforce the new response. In other words, the stimulus remains the same, but our response is going to be different. If you hack at a tree, old neural net, enough times, it will eventually have to come down. By doing the last section, you have just created a NNN, new neural net. This is now an option and another route that your mind will always find to feed. We have attached more pain to the old habit and more pleasure to the new one. The more you think of that new switch in pleasure and pain, especially in the face of your habit, more neurons are recruited to respond the way you desire. You are taking rope from your previous net and making your new one stronger every time you do it. Soon enough, as the new net gets stronger, the other one will disappear. You will definitely notice it weakening as your repetition and intensity increase. During the process of performing an undesired habit, most people think about things different from the action they are habitually doing at that time. For example, if they are smoking, they will think about what they're going to do that night. It's the same when people have a problem with overeating. They think of feeding their victimization as they eat, which may seem pleasurable. This creates an automatic reaction to think that the current habit provides benefits. But that's because you are not reminding yourself of the pain as much as you are of the pleasure, right? With the smoking example, every time you inhale, you must think of the effects that it's having on your life and what you are potentially giving up by doing it. By replacing your wandering thoughts with the effects of your behavior, you recondition your nervous system to associate pain with the habit. It may take 1, 2, or even 3 weeks, but it will amaze you how quickly you begin to change your reaction, thought, and feeling when faced with the old habit. This is the conditioning part of your achievement, and it must be done continuously. This works in any part of your life, and it is the key to changing anything you desire. 6. Spread the word and reinforce the new habit. The language we use is very important. It needs to be forceful and convincing. When you are faced with your old habit, pick up strength in your voice. Going back to the example of smoking, this is how it would work. If someone offered you a cigarette, you would immediately answer, "That's disgusting," or "Yuck." Say it with meaning, confidence, and without too much deliberation. Be adamant about your speech in the face of the old habit. Get physical, verbal, and mental with your new direction. Go and tell people around you that you are over your phobia or your habit. The more you do this, the more real it becomes, and more important, it becomes far more believable to you. The final step is to put something empowering in your habit's place and create a ritual. If you have given up cigarettes, go for a walk every day or eat a healthier breakfast. When we put something in the place of an old habit, it sets us up for lasting change. We must also be extremely proud of every step we take. Even if you have stopped smoking or overeating for 4 hours, feel the pleasurable emotion of winning. Tell yourself how great you feel and amplify the pleasure as much as you can. Reward will always condition what we do in life, so use it to your advantage and learn to reward yourself. Keep the paper from step 1 where you have written down what you want. Fold it up and make it like an extra limb. Keep it in your pocket or somewhere where it will be visible for the next 3 to 4 weeks. This will remind you of why you are doing all of this and reinforce the new pattern.